Hello, I'm Angeline Ong, and welcome to Beat the Street, the show that gives you the tradable news and data you need ahead of the Wall Street Open. Coming up, AI alert, NVIDIA seen as integral to the market's recent rally, and the broader prospects for AI-related technology swings into focus with its earnings. And the FOMC minutes also on our radar. Traders eye the minutes from the Fed's latest policy meeting for clues on the central bank's rate cut timing. And Amazon replaces Walgreens. Amazon will do this on the Dow Jones Industrials Average at the start of trading on February 26. More on that in just a moment. First, not long now before Wall Street starts trading, of course, the elephant in the room is NVIDIA. We've been waiting on those earnings, so no surprise there that there's been a lot of caution. Just checking in on the Dow Jones Industrials for you on the markets, showing you a 15-minute snapshot now, because what we've been seeing is a gradual recalibration, especially ahead of NVIDIA's results, because the company has been the backbone, if you like, of the rally that we've seen in the last 12 months. And NVIDIA shares itself have had a meteoric rise. The other key thing that we are watching out for, of course, is whether or not NVIDIA is going to say anything about the rising cost of AI. Just showing you the chart here for NVIDIA as we count down to its earnings out after the close. This is a daily chart for you. And as you can see there, as I mentioned, the meteoric rise, some 220% rise over the past 12 months. And year to date, the stock has already risen by 50%. The street expecting earnings per share of $4.58 and revenues of $20.4 billion. For the same quarter last year, NVIDIA posted earnings of 88 cents a share on revenues of just over $6 billion. What it says about AI and its data center business, and also future earnings and future revenue growth will be pounced on. Also fueling NVIDIA's share price has sent financial institutions like Goldman Sachs and Bank of America having issued bullish price target upgrades, injecting a fresh wave of optimism amongst investors. Also want to quickly show you the dollar index. This is the dollar index for you, the daily chart, because we're also expecting some volatility around the greenback with the release of the FOMC minutes tonight. The Fed making clear that it will not lower rates until they see a meaningful decrease in inflation. And recent CPI data has been hot, and many other indicators showing that inflation remains sticky and not going down as quickly as expected. Since the beginning of the year, the dollar index is following an upward trend as traders have been pushing back expectations of when the Fed is likely to start cutting rates. Well, joining me now to talk about NVIDIA and the FOMC minutes live from New York is Chris Vecchio from Tasty Live, part of IG Group. Chris, thank you so much for joining us. I guess we start with the monster earnings that everyone's been waiting on, NVIDIA. Surely with such lofty valuations, perhaps we could be in for some disappointment?
Look, this is a stock that's obviously had a very incredible run, not just over the last few years, but this year alone, up right around 50% year to date. And the expectations are sky high. You just read off some of the earnings numbers from a year ago. You're talking about earnings per share under 90 cents. And now the forthcoming earnings report is expected to see greater than $4 per share. So this is a very high bar. But we've also seen a correction in the share price yesterday, the day before, and now ahead of the session here on this Wednesday. And so even if the numbers don't necessarily beat expectations to the degree that maybe the market is hoping they do, how much more downside will there be in the price? We've already seen a pullback of 8-9% from the highs. I would be very wary here about how this market responds, quite frankly, because if there's any semblance of a beat, the negativity may have already been priced in over the past few days. And this is something that could obviously rip back to highs. But if it doesn't, the markets are in trouble. Between Meta, Microsoft, and Nvidia, roughly 60% of the gains in the S&P 500 can be accounted between those three stocks. And you've already seen here in the past two sessions that both the S&P and the NASDAQ started to lose their uptrends from the October and January swing lows. So the very uptrend that has carried us here now hinges upon the general of the rally itself, Nvidia. Those earnings come after hours here in New York today.
Right, the FOMC minutes also one that could give us some volatility. What are we likely to hear from this? Is it really the policymakers saying that perhaps they just have to wait for data before making any decisions?
Ultimately, yes. I think that's going to be the tone. I don't think there will be any inherent surprises within the data series or the minutes themselves. Importantly, look, the Federal Reserve has made clear that they are happy with the progress that's made, and I'm sure some portion of the minutes will reflect that optimism that they're achieving what they may consider to be a soft landing. Unemployment rate doesn't spike, the economy continues to grow, inflation is defeated without any significant losses. But we also have to be reminded of the fact that the way that the market's priced now, it's effectively in line with what the Fed says that it wants to do this year. You know, if you recall, the December summary of economic projections told us that there would be 3 rate cuts in 2024. And right now, the market has 3 full cuts priced in for 2024 with an outside chance and growing of a 4th cut. So how much more hawkish can the minutes push the direction of this broader market right now? And I think it's very difficult. In fact, if you look at the pricing, there's no cut priced in until June at this point in time. Any further weakness in the bond market would effectively be a bet that the Fed won't cut in the first half of this year. And I don't think the minutes are going to tell us that they don't have that intention right now. So in terms of how bonds are trading, in terms of the impact on the dollar is looking a little soft here. Now that yields are backing off, there may be a little bit more trouble ahead if the FOMC minutes don't tell us something that we already know.
Thanks very much, Chris. I'll be listening very closely to those minutes, and also Nvidia, of course. We'll be checking in with Chris later on in the week, of course, for any updates on that. Talking about Nvidia, it has been the key reason, or one of the key reasons, why the NASDAQ has risen so much in the last year. In fact, it continues to remain in an upward momentum. Just looking at a chart there for you. As you can see there from my red line, which I've drawn, starting from this point here in October, we see this very strong rolling momentum heading upwards. And we still see that it has not broken below this red trend line that I've drawn for you. Now, what's key is that if it continues to bounce up again after this point, we will perhaps see that the next level might be 18,000, because markets tend to like round numbers. Well, Axel Rudolph has been taking a closer look at the NASDAQ for us. Axel?
Angeline, with this evening's FOMC minutes and also the after-hours NVIDIA earnings, we could get some volatility in the NASDAQ 100. And I thought I might have a look at that today. And you can see here that we've already started to come off and had 3 straight days of losses in anticipation of perhaps weaker earnings being seen than expected for NVIDIA. And from a technical perspective, though, yes, we have fallen through the January to February uptrend line here and dipped below last week's low at 17,477 on the NASDAQ 100. But we didn't close below that low. So for me, provided we stay above yesterday's low at 17,396 on a daily chart closing basis today, this decline we've seen from the record highs on the 12th of February may just turn out to be an ABC Elliott wave zigzag direction, which would then mean that we could resume our ascent and that could then take us to new record highs. So watch this low from yesterday quite closely, because if a fall through is, however, may indicate further weakness and could take us down again towards the late January low at 17,119, and also the orange line here, the 55-day simple moving average at 17,017. So in essence, the level to watch is yesterday's low.
Thanks very much, Axel. As they say, watch the space. Well, the Amazon in the headlines, because S&P Dow Jones indices announced that Amazon is set to replace Walgreens Boots Alliance in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. What prompted this? Well, this is Walmart's decision to split its stock. The Dow is a price-weighted index, of course, which means it's based on the share prices of its components and not on each company's overall market value. The change takes effect on February 26. So we'll be watching out for that for you. Also, please note that Uber Technologies will join the Dow Jones Transportation Average as well. Now, I just want to show you one chart that really has been quite remarkable, and that is New York cocoa. Have a look at this chart here. It has gone pretty much just one way, really. And if you zoom in, that incline has increased in speed from January this year. And cocoa prices have risen to the lofty highs of around 5,780 as we speak. And this is quite remarkable because this is a new record. It had a record peak of £4,819 a tonne, and now it's at 5,787. All this down to weather and also a large global deficit in the 2023 to 24 season. At the same time, concerns about the next season's crop are also growing, with many out there, many traders as well, taking the view that the market could record a fourth successive deficit next season. All this would be problematic for the price of cocoa, or rather good if you hold cocoa or trade cocoa. The high heat and also the lack of rain in most of Ivory Coast cocoa growing regions could start to slow and reduce the size of the April to September mid-crop. So all these concerns, well, warmer weather, drought, causing many out there to look at the price and think perhaps there could be further upside to come. And that's your latest edition of Beat the Street. For more market-moving news, do join us on at IGCom or IGTV. For more analysis, of course, we'll be watching out for those NVIDIA results for you after the bell, and also those FOMC minutes. This is IGTV.